Let's come back to the Lagos Free Zone Company, which last Friday concluded its 10.5 billion infrastructure bond of 20-year tenor, the first of such long-dated paper in the Nigerian debt market. Speaking to us now on this landmark transaction, which is a AAA rating and an irrevocable infra credit guarantee, is Ashish Khemka, the Chief Financial Officer of the Lagos Free Zone Company itself. Great having you on the show tonight.
Great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. Let's get a wider view of your industry, because there are about 42 of you that's got the free zones in Nigeria, but just only about a handful are in operations. How has your Lagos Free Zone managed to function in the economy?
Thanks, Bosman. You know, the reason why Lagos Free Zone has seen the success is because of the commitment shown by our shareholder, which is the Tolaram, a Singapore-based conglomerate. Predominantly the investment thrown in the infrastructure, the base infrastructure needed for the development of the zone, and creating the right base for the multinationals like Kellogg's, Arla, Colgate to come and set up their units in the zone has led us to reach to the position. And in fact, being the pioneer free zone of the country, we have a well thought out master plan, which also adds to the value of it.
But when you look at the general challenges of the license-free zones in Nigeria, what are some of the challenges faced, and do you folks have any idea how these problems could be mitigated?
You know, Africa as a whole, and Nigeria to be specific, needs a lot of investment in the infrastructure projects. And with Nigeria, we need it, and private sector needs to play an important role into it. And private sector alone cannot do it. They need the government support. So one of the areas where we need more is the support from the government. And when we talk about the Special Economic Zone, which is governed by Nigeria Export Zone Processing Authority, we need their support in regulating and coordinating with various agencies to successfully implement the policies which are well undermined by the laws and regulations of the country.
When you talk about regulations, in what specific areas? Is it in terms of permits? Is it in terms of financial? Or is it in terms of tax? What is it? Because one of the things you enjoy in the free zone is that you get some tax holidays.
Sure, that's for sure that we get the tax holidays into the country and operating into the free zone. But, you know, the coordination between the various agencies and making sure that the one-stop shop solution and making the ease of operation and the convenience for any investors into the country leads to it. And that's what we require from the government is a better coordination between the various agencies such as customs, immigration, and other parasitals. And along with that, also to focus on developing the support infrastructure, because the infrastructure within the zone and the industrial park can be developed by the private sectors. But to make sure that the national infrastructure is available, that's what the government needs to focus on.
But again, you find out that one of the reasons that the government created the free zones is for you operators to enable you franchisees attract foreign direct investments, create jobs, and so on. Do you think you are able to play that role? Will you be able to do that?
I would say that in our short history, that is almost, you can say that the zone is active for the last 13 years, but predominantly the development started only in last 2 years. That is when after our marquee project, which is the Lekki Deep Sea project, got the financial closure. And you are all aware about the last 2 years being hit by the pandemic of COVID. The overall investment globally have come down, but that doesn't mean that Nigeria would be left behind it. But the numbers speak the other way. The last numbers reported by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics shows that last quarter we had received a very minimum amount of approximately $80 million at FDIs into the country, but the potential of the country is huge. And if you see our neighboring country like Ghana, this year itself, they have attracted more than $900 million as foreign direct investment into the country. Which one thing, which focus much more is that the appetite is available in the multinational brand. It's just that you need to provide the right infrastructure and the right base for the companies to come and invest into the zone. And that's what Lagos Free Zone is doing it, is providing the right infrastructure needed for the development and creating the right convenience environment so that the actual ease of business can be achieved by the multinationals operating into the country.
Okay, so Ashish, here is you got investors 10.5 billion naira now in your account as the chief financial officer. So you are a multi-billionaire, as it were, right now. And I envy you. You got a 10.5 billion for 20 years. That's the longest infrastructure private sector in Nigeria's debt capital market. Congratulations on that. So you concluded that on Friday. So what will you be doing with this money? How would you use this to accelerate the development of the Lagos Free Zone?
Thanks, Mr. Boston, and we appreciate your well wishes for it. This, in fact, is the milestone event in the Nigerian debt capital market, being the first 20-year bond. And to look into it, you have to be mindful that the infrastructure projects have a long gestation period, and Lagos Free Zone is not far behind. So that's one of the reasons why we went ahead and did the 20-year bond. This 20-year bond, again, opens the new channel of market or the new channel of funding for the infrastructure projects which are predominantly available into the market, but the resources were not available. But with this success issuance of his first 20-year bond, focus and availability has now shown that the infrastructure project can be funded locally. And talking about the use of proceeds, we have been developing this zone in the last 2 years, as I talked earlier. So the zone itself is an 830 hectares of land, of which roughly 200 hectares have been working upon it currently, and the balance are approximately 600 hectares would be developed over the period of time in next 10 to 15 years. So the funding raised by the current issuance will help us to speed up our industrial park development and attract more FDIs into the country.
Well, here you are sitting next to the Dangote refinery and the Lekki Free Zone as well. So it looks like it's going to be a whole lot of competition amongst you there. So who owns what down there? Do you have any other investors in there? Are you partnered with anyone down the Lekki area?
So, the Lagos state itself has identified roughly around 18,500 hectares of land in the whole Lekki axis to be developed at industrial park. And to talk about at present, when we speak, there are 4 different investors who are investing and developing the industrial park there. Lekki Free Zone is a partnership between Lagos state government and Chinese government, whereas Dangote is developing its a private free zone, which is mostly for the refinery and petrochemical products. And the another one is again a partnership with the Lagos state, which is called as Alaro City. And the fourth one being the Lagos Free Zone, which is 100% privately owned and developed by Tolarama Singapore-based conglomerate.
When we look at the target investments, you say you've been in business for just about 3.5 years or so out of the 13 years. So tell me about how much dollars is involved in all of this.
So, as VSP, you've spoken earlier, in the last 2-3 years is a major development happening on the industrial land. But till date, we have been able to get a committed investment of roughly $2.1 billion, of which more than $1.1 billion have already been invested into the business. And this investment have come predominantly from the zone infrastructure development, the Lekki Deep Sea Port involvement, and the multinational brands like Kellogg's, Colgate, Arla Foods, Indo Foods, Sana Group, and all other names which have invested into the money. Into the zone, in fact. And we expect that in next 10 to 15 years, this zone would be able to attract a total of around $5 billion as FDIs into the country.
That's great. Let's talk about job creation.
Yeah. So on the job creation side, in the short duration of time which we have operated, we have created more than 3,000 jobs till date. That's leave apart the construction jobs which are being created at the Lekki Deep Sea Port project. Over the time, the zone is expected to create more than 30,000 jobs, and the port itself would create another 170,000 jobs over the next 45 years of its concession period.
And with all that, you think the whole tax-free whatever incentives you're getting from the government will be justified at the end of the day?
I would say definitely, because if you see the tax-free incentives which we get from the government is only on the part of the corporate income tax. There are other taxes and levies which are paid by the operating enterprises in the zone. To give you a number, a sort, last year itself, the Lagos Free Zone contributed more than 13 billion naira in custom duties, which is roughly around 1% of the total collection by the customs in the whole year. Apart from that, we also contributed more than 200 million naira as a zone in the Lagos state government, that is through payee taxes.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm sure you'll be needing more money as you move ahead because the program you have is about 20 billion. How soon are you looking for additional money?
We are tracking to the market. This was our debut issuance. So we are still evaluating, and we would be keeping track to the market. Since this is the Series 1 is under a registered program of 50 billion naira, so we expect that soon, maybe early next year, we come back to the market, and this first issuance will help us to attract better investors in our Series 2, which would be coming in early next year.
We thank you for your time, and we wish you a nice evening. Ashish Khemka, CFO at the Lagos Free Zone Company PLC.